evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on the Political Deep Dive. If you're wondering what's going on with our chat display, there we go. All right, we're all good. What is up? I'm Dave Valente, joined as always by AJ from Tennessee, but soon to be elsewhere, and Dan the Man Fishman. Dandy
Happy
Dan.
St. Patrick's Day to
Yes,
everybody.
happy
who
St.
celebrates.
Patrick's Day. I'm wearing my cat shirt, cat riding a cat unicorn,
Yep.
St. Patty's Day T-shirt.
It is my sister's birthday. My younger sister.
Happy birthday, Dan's sister.
She is, I'm probably not supposed to reveal, but she is 48 years old. Very exciting.
She's younger than us.
She's younger than us, not younger than AJ. She is 9 years younger than me. The true story is, I was born in '67. My brother was born in '70. And then I was so bad. I was such a discipline problem, etc., that my parents wanted to wait and see what my brother was going to turn out to be like. Because he did bad. They weren't going to have a third kid. But lucky for my sister, Jeremy was a perfect child.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you gotta try it a few times. Make sure you get the mix right. I think. I mean, I'm the third of three, and I was perfect. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, right. Your parents probably car broke them in.
Yeah, and my brother. I'm amazed that I was born, but it happens. So
it is also
St.
my
Patty's
sister
Day.
Nancy's birthday.
Yeah.
Did you hear me?
It's whose birthday?
It's also my sister Nancy's birthday.
Interesting. Nice. Older or younger sister?
Older.
Mm-hmm. Your wedding anniversary.
Anniversary. Way to go, Janice.
Yeah, Janice, happy remembrance of the day. And, 33 years is a real accomplishment.
Yeah.
And it is, James, it's also Sunday.
It is Sunday.
I'm hoping that Holy Shit, It's Sunday is a reference to the Red Peter song, Holy Shit, It's Christmas. One of my favorite Christmas songs. Yeah, so, St. Patrick's Day, I never really celebrated it before I moved to Boston. And then in Boston, it's a big deal. There's a big parade in Southie. And like everything else in the world, it became political for a while because it was run by, by a bunch of Irish Catholic families. And so at one point in time, they said, we're not going to let gay people march in our parade. So then they started having a second parade immediately after the first parade, so that you couldn't really tell where the first one ended and the second one began. And so it was the General Smedley Butler, who I think most of you know.
Yeah.
It was his parade.
And
hey, Craig. And they had a lot of people marching that. And then the politicians started refusing to march in the first parade because it was too exclusive. And eventually the people who ran the first parade turned it over to another group. They weren't willing to bend their standards, but they're saying, if you can't have our parade, we won't run it, so somebody else can take over running the parade. And now there's all one big happy parade, although there's still a tradition of people not, in theory, in the parade, marching along at the end of the parade. And it's awesome. It's a great time. But so here's my story. It used to be, back in the day, it was awesome. In fact, I'm going to play a video at one point in time of how awesome this parade is, because I have it and it's mine and I own it, so it's okay to. It's not going to affect any copyright. But it used to be that everybody would just drink out on the street, and we would give beer to the people who were marching in the parade. New York Police Department and Fire Department, they usually came up and marched. We would get those guys hammered. And they loved it. We loved it. It was a good time. Then also, we would count the number of bagpipers, put an over under number, and then we would try to balance out the bets where we would figure it was. And my group of friends who are all pretty big drinkers, pretty big gamblers, and so we'd split it up, and usually it's like 116 or so would be the over under number. It was always over 100. I think the high one we was like 150, but a lot of bagpipes. Also, interestingly enough, for no reason, the local Star Wars people used to march. So like Darth Vader and a bunch of Jedi and stormtroopers, stuff like that.
All
'Cause-
Irish canon, man. Star Wars is Irish canon.
Yep. Falun Gong marched. They did a little dragon dance thing, and it was funny because at one point in time, I asked the guys, I'm like, "Why are you doing this?" He's like, "It's such a cool thing. We were looking for other opportunities to do it more than once a year." And I'm like, "Makes complete sense." Why would you
I will
ever do
tell you the
Yeah.
most disruptive street protest I've seen in DC was the Falun Gong March. Every year they do a march, and it's thousands of people, and it's impressive, kind of frightening, but it's impressive to watch that thing happen. But yeah, the Falun Gong March in Washington, there's just a ton of Falun Gong people in DC. Like you go to a metro stop, and there's usually like people with the Falun Gong, Falun Dafa stuff
Yeah,
at those places, or you go to the White House and you're out next to the permanent protest. There usually are Falun Gong people there as well. But yeah, they like to party.
yeah. Well, and it's interesting that it's a little bit controversial. They are who they are,
Yeah,
but one of the other funny things, I'm just looking through some of my photos from one of the St. Patrick's Day parades. The Ghostbusters would always come and march on the St. Patrick's Day parade,
interesting.
including the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, which is pretty awesome. Uh, the oh, this one hurts. The Aleppo Shriners would come.
Oh no,
Yeah. And this is long before this 2011. I'm looking at these pictures.
we're getting an offer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah.
Dusty.
It was
Appreciate it.
crazy time. Oh, hey,
Got an
Dusty.
offer.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, Dusty, can you send me some photos?
Be careful what you ask for, man. Asking for random photos on the internet.
Yeah. How can that go? How can that go wrong? I
How
don't
can
get
that go wrong? Ah,
it.
is that inflamed? Um,
Exactly.
so
Have
I've
you
called
ever
this
seen?
the.
I was
I've
just gonna say, have
called
you seen Chappelle's thing about what if the internet were a real place?
no.
Oh, it's this fabulous sketch. He's like, what if the internet were a real place? And he walks in, and there's a guy walking through a mall. He's like, hey, man, what's that music you're listening to? Man, I love that thing. He's like, oh, yeah, this is the latest hit. He's like, is there any place I can get that? He's like, well, there's that store over there that sells these songs at 99 cents. He's like, or there's this one where it's free. And you just see everybody running out with bad things. Then another guy walks up behind him and says, hey, dude. He's like, yeah. He's like, hey, dude. Yeah. I can make your penis enormous. There's
You never know
people who
what
haven't
you'll hear
seen it.
on Political
Yeah.
Deep Dive.
People who haven't seen it, watch the Dave Chappelle sketch. What if the internet was a real place?
All right, that sounds good. I termed this the Homecoming edition because we got two different stories about homecoming. First off, my wife came home today from
Nice.
rehab, so she is home, still recuperating, but she's home. That's the cool thing is that I don't have to drive to Morgantown to go see her. I don't have to lose a car like I did on Wednesday. Uh,
Lost your car?
it's yeah, my car died on the
Oh boy.
way to Morgantown. So the drive to Morgantown is about 2 hours. It's 140 miles away. Um, it's not that it's a taxing distance. It's the road itself. It's very mountainous and it is windy. It is very windy. So yeah, my car was going up a hill. And just noticed the tachometer was just jumping, and then lost power, and I drifted over to
Wow.
the emergency lane and got towed, and found out it was transmission and
The
all
emergency
kinds of
lane
other
on the
stuff.
right or the emergency lane on the left?
On the right. Yeah,
Gotcha.
I made it over to the right, so safe
Gotcha.
side. Um, but yeah, transmission, all that fun stuff. So I have to deal with that. But I've got Aaliyah home, so relieved. Um, we do have to go back to Morgantown in a week for a doctor's appointment, but hopefully from there we can move everything back over to Martinsburg and not have to make that tremendous trek just to go to a doctor. So, um,
You know,
but yeah,
one of the important things about that is that you understand that phrase that only old people really understand. At least you have your health,
yeah,
because you hear that in movies all the time and stuff like that. But man, you don't really understand it until you don't, and then you're like, man, everything else, all this other shit that I worry about. I mean, and listen, I'm a good worrier, right? I mean, my people are the best worriers. Um, but when you start getting those health issues, then everything else is like
yeah.
something else.
I mean, and I think if I had to do it all over again, I probably would have chosen something in more of the DC area rather than Morgantown. That's a lot. It's a pain in the ass drive, but it's a lot easier to get to. But
Hmm.
um, now knowing what I know, I still like getting out to Morgantown. It's an absolutely beautiful drive. But um, yeah, when your car's at about 95,000 miles, and Nissans are kind of known for their transmission issues once you get close to 100, that you know it was just a matter of time, especially the kind of miles I was putting on the car. But
So, are
uh,
you going to replace the transmission? Or you think you're going to replace the car?
depends. So I had the certified pre-owned car,
Yep.
and it gave me the deal to have my the powertrain protected until 100,000 miles or a certain time period, and that time period expired last May.
Mm,
So
okay.
it's like $7,000 to replace the transmission.
Right.
Or, I did request to have, Nissan will allow you to request to have that warranty extended to the full life of the mileage life of the car. And having been a previous Nissan owner, they think it's a chance that at least part of it's gonna get paid for, and covered, but we'll see. If not, then we're gonna have to get replaced. So,
I have three letters for you. If you like to stay with Nissan,
what's that?
GTR.
GTR.
Yes. You may not be familiar with the Nissan GTR, but it's the fastest car that Nissan makes.
Oh, no, my wife would
All
not
wheel
like that.
drive. It's actually like a supercar.
Uh
Uh, it's astonishing.
I would love that. My
Yes.
wife would not like me having that, so let's
You
just
put
say
in a lot
I
of
was
good service. I think you got a
I
lot
w
of brownie points right now, Dave.
well, I was massaging a lot of the laws of Western Maryland today, traffic laws.
Well,
So,
that's why you need a faster car. If you're a person who speeds, statistically, the less time you're on the road, the less chance you get a ticket. So
this
driving
is true.
faster helps.
This is true.
That's
Alright.
science.
You're you're
Can't argue
you're
with
making
math.
a case here, man. Um
Man science.
Man
No,
science it is.
man science, like girl math.
Yeah. Well, there's another interesting about it is that another true fact of man science is that your body can only process so many calories in an hour. So if you can eat a ton of calories in 1 hour, some of those calories don't get processed. Your body just passes it right through. So
Interesting.
you
I
can eat a
always say
lot.
that every food is health food if you eat a healthy amount.
Mm, that I don't know about.
And okay, wait. Let me remember. Raise your hand if you're on a statin right now. Maybe no one should listen to us for health advice.
Eh,
I'm just
Well,
just throwing that out there.
it's preventative stuff. Now, Dave said that, every food is healthy food if taken in a healthy amount. But, you know, I'm going to quote The Simpsons here and say that,
Don't.
broccoli is dangerous and it tries to warn you with its bad taste.
well, I'm just saying a healthy amount is a healthy large amount.
Fair.
Healthy. But not only did Aaliyah come home and have that kind of homecoming, but AJ had a homecoming of sorts as well. You went to your new home.
I did.
Tell us about that.
Well, thankfully, I have an amazing cousin named Justin that agreed to go with me. Neither of us had flown before, so we got on a plane from Nashville and flew to Denver. And
Was it a direct flight?
both, yes, super
Awesome.
spoiled this time around. Um, Absolutely loved the flight. That was great. All the other stuff involved in the airport, not the best, but that's okay. Everything has its thing, you know. Everybody was nice to us. There was no actual issue. It was just a lot of hurry up and wait kind of thing. And traveling, if you've never really done it before, can be exhausting. And then not knowing where you're going adds to that, you know. So we got there, and we're just hungry and whatnot. So Monday night, got food, crashed. Like that was it. Tuesday, got up, had breakfast. It was amazing. We actually stayed in Golden, Colorado, um,
I love
and
that.
Home of
where we
Coors
were.
beer.
Yes.
Yes, and that is a whole smell um, that I didn't expect. Um, it's just different, um, and that's okay. Uh, I looked around. We went to Aurora and toured some different apartments and some different locations. Found the libraries because libraries are important with my family. Um, it's kind of weird. Like we drove like over 1,000 miles while we were there because we were going all over the place. And we're from Tennessee, so driving everywhere you go is common. Like we're just used to it. So we drove all over the place, and over the course of the week, we saw 5 law enforcement officials the entire week, over 1,000 miles. So I was back in Tennessee for about 90 minutes on the interstate on the way home, and I saw one car pulled over by 3 law
Hmm.
enforcement officials. And I was like, yep, I'm back home. Also, they don't have billboards everywhere. Like, they don't have the political signs everywhere. They don't have all the signs everywhere. Signs like that bullshit that we have in Tennessee, where everybody's telling you what the fuck to think and how you're sinning and how you're fucking this up and you need to buy this home and you need to use this lawyer and yeah, that doesn't don't have that there. Like there's some there in Denver, but they're a certain height, so they don't block the view. Speaking of the view, you can see for hundreds of miles. Like you can see places it would take you a couple of days to fucking get to until it starts to snow. And then it's white and silver and blue, and that's it. And I mean, you know that there's a whole world out there because you fucking saw it yesterday. It's not there anymore, and it is so fucking pretty and peaceful. And then they send out this whole like squadron of people to deal with the roads because that's what the people pay for is for these people to take care of the roads.
Who will take care of the roads?
Blew
Yep.
my mind. Blew my mind.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I didn't see a single Trump anything. Saw lots of rainbow flags. Lots of trans flags. Lots of the I don't know if it's the unity. I don't know what it is, but it's the one with the triangles and all the colors. Um, Saw those everywhere. Saw lots of different people from lots of different places because nobody's from Colorado anymore. Everybody moved there because they
Yeah.
were tired of where they were.
And people from
They came to
Colorado hate
Colorado
that,
and
as
were
you can
like,
imagine.
well, yeah, I imagine so. But I also know a lot of people that have moved out of Colorado and to Tennessee. So it's just weird, crazy. Um,
It's
uh,
really
uh,
interesting because the Mountain West in general has such a different vibe than
Oh
everywhere
yeah.
else in the country, right? It's so sparsely populated,
mhm.
relatively speaking. Now, Colorado is, they've got a big city in Denver. But once you get up into the mountains, no, nothing like that. And it's awesome.
I mean, you're going to
Um,
see Trump signs. Like if you go outside of the Denver metro area, if you go north if you go
Colorado
west.
Springs is among the most conservative Christian towns in the United States.
Yeah, well, isn't
Yes,
that
we didn't
where
go there.
isn't that where Kenneth Copeland's at?
Yep, and it's where if you saw that movie Black Klansman, that took place in Colorado Springs as well. It's it is what it is. A lot of it has to do with the Air Force Academy being there,
Yeah,
but
it's a big military town.
you can find that everywhere. Massachusetts has towns that are hardcore conservative Christian.
I think what the difference is where I'm at, it has become so common. Like, I don't know, there weren't churches every like block and a half.
Yeah,
Like that's the town that I come from.
yeah,
Is there are more churches than there are anything else. And that's just the way that it is. Um, we were just blown away by it. And we didn't like we saw all these different people from different places and all these, a whole mix of different cultures. And we didn't hear anybody talking smack about their culture or saying, well, since those fucking blah 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 blahs came here, it's none of that didn't happen. That happens every time I leave the house here.
right.
Um, I didn't see a single Confederate flag, which
Yeah,
That's nice.
just
I see them here in
the
West Virginia,
weirdest
which just
thing.
blows my mind.
I
Like
mean,
I can't understand why you have a Confederate flag here. West Virginia wouldn't exist if we had stayed with the Confederacy. We'd be Virginia.
hmm,
Hmm. It's just so different. It's just like
Yeah.
blew our minds. And no, we're sitting there and like we're getting our crap ready to come home, I guess. And we're both just grumpy as shit. It's the grumpiest we've been all week, you know.
yeah,
We're asthmatics and we've been able to breathe fine all week long. And we're getting ready and we're huffing and puffing, not because we can't breathe, but because we're pissed off
yeah.
because we have to come back to Tennessee.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. Did you notice the altitude at all?
No, not really. It didn't. We just stayed really, really hydrated before we went. And like I had my nebulizer with me. I had everything that we could possibly need
Right.
if we had an issue. Um, and we were fine. I was telling Dave before the show, my cousin used an inhaler one time the entire time we were there. He usually uses it 2 or 3 times a day. Like he keeps it on him, you know.
Hmm.
Um, he used it once, and that's because he was clearing off over 2 feet of snow from around the car. And he came back up and he took a
I
puff and
would
he was good
probably
to
need
go.
one. Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
probably
I
need
mean,
one
it was,
for 2 feet of snow. I'd be like,
yeah,
I'm gonna need a couple days.
you know. And now Justin is like the perfect gentleman, just absolutely the perfect person to have with you. He's very helpful, like very calm, logical, like and notice things that maybe necessarily I wouldn't. It was just such a great trip. Like I can't even. I just, it was just. I think that's where I was supposed to be this whole time. And Barbara tried to tell me. My friend from middle school and high school lives there.
Hmm.
They live up on the mountain. They got 4 feet of snow, which is taller than her child.
Yep.
And he was making a snow cave, which is like his favorite thing to do. And I was like, a snow cave? We've barely had enough to make snowmen my entire life. To make
Yeah.
a snow cave? And it is like the perfect snow for that. We don't get that in Tennessee. We get this frozen chunk of ice with like a couple of flakes on it. That's what we get. The reason we have such trouble is it's ice. It's not freaking snow. It's just ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. My
so
nephew
no,
is at UC Boulder, and
yeah.
he and his roommates uh, made a real igloo, and then proceeded to invite everybody over and get stoned in it.
Well, I
There you
mean,
go, man. That's a
Colorado, man.
it's a cold hot box.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
No,
That's
and
awesome.
that didn't bother me. It's so strange. He and I both have gotten like the worst pneumonia in cold weather in Tennessee, like hospitalized pneumonia. And we were walking around outside because I wanted to see. I took my Fitbit so I could get like comparison from a week in Tennessee and then a week in Colorado. And my O2 was better there. My pulse was better there. Everything was better. I was like, I wonder if I would have not been so sick. It's been somewhere else this whole time. And
Could
then we
be.
came back to Tennessee, and both of us were immediately congested, felt like crap, terrible headaches. My left eye was gunk shut with all the stuff from, I guess, my tear ducts reacting to all of the Tennessee that I'm allergic to.
So, AJ,
Yes,
you are slated in June to go to Denver? Is that your
that is
plan?
the plan. That is
Well,
the plan. And
tell us
the
about your,
reason that that is
GoFundMe.
okay, I do have a GoFundMe set up. The GoFundMe is essentially going to be for the actual moving expenses, like moving our stuff there. I am going to have to use a moving company that is able to do the moving and the lifting. I work at home. I work at home because I can't do patient care one-on-one safely. Because if I go to lift somebody and I drop them, I mean, obviously. So I use a cane about 25% of the time. Obviously, lifting and moving furniture is not going to be something that I can do. So I am going to have to use that moving company. And they are going to have to drive like 17 hours across the country. So it's going to be expensive. The GoFundMe, I really think that I've got the deposit. I think I've got it. Um,
So,
Do you have
but
your moving?
this
yeah,
is going for the, say that again?
Do you have your moving company yet? Oh yeah. First, everybody see the QR code.
right here up the
Scan
Yes.
top.
it.
Click the
Get
QR
some.
code. Take your phone out. Use the camera function on your phone,
Do you
and
have the moving company yet?
I do not have the moving company yet. I'm talking to 3 different ones this next week
Let me
concerning options.
suggest. So what we did when we moved down here
Uh-huh.
was we did pods
Mhm.
and then hired movers to load the pods, and they'll be very happy to do that. Load the stuff in. They load the stuff into the pods, and then the pods people come and pick up their pods and take them to wherever you want them to go.
Can
So,
you send me a link for that?
yep, absolutely.
Thank
It's
you.
it was awesome for us,
My
and it's
sister was
pretty cheap to
suggesting
move
that.
the stuff.
nice.
And that way I can go ahead and start putting stuff and whatnot as well. Thank you so much. No,
Yep.
I just need to get our stuff there. I've got a job there because my job is remote. It travels with me as long as I'm within the United States. So I don't want people to think that I'm begging for money to do something that I just can't afford to do. It's just the moving part that I'm struggling with.
It is
That
very daunting to
deposit and
move.
everything.
To
Yeah.
move across
I mean,
country is very daunting, and it can be very expensive to do it. And um, I will say, always, if you're in the market of moving and you're moving cities, and have to use, OTR moving companies to do that, to definitely check it out via Better Business Bureau. Pods is a fairly reputable company, so I wouldn't worry about the drivers there. But
mhm,
there are some known mafia issues when it comes to moving companies going that do over the road um, uh, moving. So just be careful, buyer beware when you're doing that. Check it out with the Better Business Bureau, um, and use friends' recommendations. Dan has a good one. So, but yeah,
absolutely.
but yeah,
No,
take your phone out, use the camera function, scan that QR code up there. There it is, up there at the top of the screen here, and check out AJ's GoFundMe and help her out if you can. I would appreciate it, greatly appreciate it. I've already helped her out. I'll be helping her out soon again, as things get calmed down around here. But yeah, it's a good cause.
well, thank you very much. I do want to ask everybody if you can't donate, if you could share it, because that has been a little bit of a thing. Nobody wants to talk about uh, trans people. Nobody wants to talk about um, a lot that's going on because it is an election year. Everybody's super sensitive. I know. Um, I, I'm. I just want to move my family somewhere where they have opportunities. That is all that
And
I'm
are
doing.
safe. And are
You
safe.
know. Well, the opportunity to live is definitely up there because Tennessee is as red as you can get. and it's only going to get redder. The Democrats are mobilizing a little, but I think that it's going to be another decade before they actually put anything back in place, if they ever do.
Yeah,
There
really
are
should be
over 40
competitive.
40 official offices that are not that have no have no competitors for the seat.
Yeah.
So
That
until they can
is
get a majority, you know.
well, that's the function of gerrymandering in most states, that
Um,
you just eliminate most of the competitive races there. Um,
yes.
all right, well, it's a free for all Sunday this week,
Mhm.
so we have news stories. I'll kick it out off. I think one of the biggest news stories this week, we've heard that the U.S. House has passed legislation to force the sale of TikTok from ByteDance to someone. Uh, uh, People are starting to line up to try and buy it, but if they don't sell it, then they would remove it from app stores in the United States.
Right.
Um, I tell you what, I to me of the and I hear all the hyperbolic hand wringing that a lot of people do about TikTok. Um, yes, am I concerned that they're owned by a Chinese corporation? Yes, but I know that they're owned by a Chinese corporation. So if I see Chinese propaganda pop up on it, I take it for what it's worth, which is bullshit. Um, there are some security concerns, but you could do that kind of manipulation with any of those social media apps.
Exactly. It could be done. I mean, the fact that the spying stuff that you need to worry about is not the stuff that says made in China, right?
Yeah,
You think about, here's a blast from the past. The first person who says in the comments who George Philby was, let us know. You know, Dave?
George Philby. That name sounds familiar, and I
We'll see. We'll see if somebody gets one of our listeners gets it. But if you think about who are the biggest spies in American history, uh, Pollock, Benedict Arnold, uh, they're Americans, right? You don't need foreign
Rosenberg's.
people to come over here and be spies. Tokyo Rose, I
Yeah,
believe, was actually an American citizen, right?
yeah, yeah. She was.
Um, so it's internal spying. I'm not worried about a Chinese government using a Chinese program. Now, all that being said, everybody needs to be afraid of spyware no matter what, no
Yes.
matter where it comes from, because it's so much more incredibly lucrative for somebody to get a program on your phone that could potentially find data. Like, I'll give you an example right now. We're launching a product that's going to be on Androids and iPhones relatively soon. And we have to have all of our code reviewed by Google and Apple before they'll let people put it on their phones. That's a good thing. I mean, I don't think it's nice that Apple charges people 30% to put a phone on on iPhone, but the fact that those guys want to make sure that their customers aren't getting hacked, that's a good thing. But there's still people are still getting hacked anyway.
Yeah.
So, in spite of all the efforts that people go through, people still get hacked. The TikTok ban, the problem with it is that when does it become the next level of socialism? Because a
Well,
lot of socialist countries ban imports of other things. For example, you can't sell American rice in Japan.
yeah. It's import substitute industrialization. It was what helped make the Asian tiger economy strong, but the problem is they got to a point where you can't take those tariffs and things off because the Japanese farmers, the Singaporese merchants are such a powerful force in their political culture that if you tried to take that stuff off, they would riot in the streets, just like the French do every time you talk about doing anything with French farming. They drive their tractors to Paris. But
Yep.
um, uh, my problem with the law is that it's so broadly written that the government and it really places the power in the executive, that they make a determination that a social media company is under foreign influence. Like, let's say X has a tremendous number of bots, and is fairly known for having Russian propaganda bots, the Russian intelligence services use X
Yep.
to foment propaganda, news stories that are not, that will cause you to not look favorably upon the U.S. government or look more favorably upon Vladimir Putin.
Or on an American candidate who's more
Yeah,
likely to throw the government into chaos.
yeah, exactly. And if the
Kind of
government the
like the
government
same
can
thing
say,
that
"That's propaganda. You need to sell that to, to get rid of it, or we're gonna pull it off the." They could do this with any.
yeah,
They could say, "You know what, Elon Musk, yeah, you're an American citizen, but you also have South African descent, and
yeah,
we don't really trust that." Or yeah, he's South African. We don't really trust
got the
South
African.
Africans. South
Yeah,
African, yeah, Afrikaner.
there's there's a lot of things to be worried about. Internet, safety, privacy, all that stuff. The idea that the Chinese government is going to spy on you using TikTok is ridiculous. Because they
Oh
can
yeah.
spy on you a whole bunch of other ways.
Well, here's the
Balloons, for
dumb thing, like,
example.
so I'm a really big I'm a big fan of, Jeff Jackson, who is a representative in North Carolina. He's actually running for their attorney general right now because, to me, I think he's been kind of the most similar to what Justin Amash was when he was in the House. He gets on and really explains why things are happening and how things happen. He got on LinkedIn this week and he put on another TikTok about the TikTok ban and everything. And he said a couple of things that I took issue with, and one is that the Chinese have too much control over it. And honestly, if the Chinese could pass every law in the books, and it doesn't matter to me because I'm not under China.
Right.
That doesn't matter anything to me. And then they took issue with the fact that they got swamped last week with a bunch of people lobbying Congress to say, "Hey, don't ban TikTok," because TikTok put a little thing on their screen when you logged in and said, "Hey, they're trying to ban TikTok. If you don't want it to be banned, contact your congressman." And it gave you a button to contact your congressman using zip code identification. I So I live in the DC media market. I know you do as well, Dan.
Yep.
You watch TV. If you watch the news, whether it's local news or like CNN or any of the news, every day you're asked to lobby Congress for something, whether it's pharma, whether it's agribusiness, whether it is
Well, I mean, those
patent
those those
protections.
commercials, for people who haven't seen them, those commercials are particularly crazy
Oh,
because
they
they'll
lie.
they'll spend $100,000 on a commercial that's designed for 100 people to see it
Yep.
because it only matters to like 100 people. But they're like, how do we get in front of them? We put an ad on television, which is insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
TikTok simply
it's
did what as I'm getting involved and getting active and engaging in activism, and that's how TikTok made its name. Remember back first time I really heard of TikTok and how powerful it was 2020, early 2020, or probably 2019. Donald Trump's first, I know it was 2020. Donald Trump's first big rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A bunch of people on TikTok bought up the tickets for this event, and it ended up being like half sold out. Like they took out most of the tickets there for that event. Of course, that's the event that was famous for killing off Herman Cain because he got COVID after going to that event. But yeah, that was where I think that's part of the issue is that this is a piece of technology that people are using to organize activism, and there isn't really a lot of control, and I think they fear that, um, because they can go to X, and they can go to Meta and say, "Hey, people are doing this, change up your algorithm." The federal government's done that before. Um, famously during the January 6th riot, they went to Twitter back at that
yep.
point and said, "Hey, get Donald Trump off of there," and they did. They pulled him off of there. Um, they can't do that with a Chinese company. I get that fear, but I don't think that justifies them forcing the sale of TikTok, especially when guys like Steve Mnuchin are looking at buying it. Like, I think
Well, that's the
I would
worst
much
one that.
rather have China have a control over it than a Trumper.
Right, exactly. Steve Mnuchin, former Secretary of the Treasury, and it's crazy that here he's going to make this financial windfall because of the actions of the government. Because
Forcing
it
the sale,
probably,
because I mean, you could name your price at that point.
well, what's interesting about it is I wonder who owns the technology, right? Are they really going to spin off TikTok, or how are they going to do it? I don't know. I don't have
Yeah, I don't know.
any idea about it. But whatever it is, it's dumb. I mean, the only thing that's dumber about it is the idea that you know
Well, and then
it really
this week,
matters to people.
well, and this week, the U.S. government actually admitted to the fact that they have been they tried to foment dissent within China using their own social media apps. Um,
Well, I mean,
you know,
what's
uh,
crazy about it to me is there's all this complaint about oh, Putin is interfering in our elections and the Chinese are doing all this stuff. And then, the U.S. has done that same sort of thing. I mean, just right the other day, Schumer called for a
yeah, Chuck
regime
Schumer.
change in Israel.
Yeah, I mean, I get what he was driving at. I think it was kind of ham-handed. I think he said committing to elections, and we really don't have any say in this. Like he
Yeah.
was saying, commit to elections after the war is over. But
What?
like, what right do you have to call for an election in another country? Just
Yeah.
like, what
I
right do
mean,
we have
he
to
he
call for an
he
election
said
in?
that Netanyahu was in the way of peace, which is, I mean, it's completely ridiculous because this is going to lead to an interesting, I think, political debate too. Uh, there was recently in libertarian circles. There's been a little talk, and I posted about it on my Facebook page, uh, celebrating vigilantism. And the case that they cite, it's the anniversary of it, March 16th, of a father who
Ah, yes,
killed the man.
Gary Plausch.
Yeah, Gary Plausch, right? Killed the man who kidnapped and raped his son. And the rapist was caught. The son was rescued. And as they were bringing the
They're
rapist back,
extraditing him. Yeah.
he was ambushed by the father in the airport who shot him in the head and killed him. Lots of video of this on YouTube if you want to find it. And somebody posted happy anniversary day with a picture of the guy being shot for those who celebrated it. And, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. There's no question this guy was guilty. He had done it. And he was terrible. He abused a position of trust in order to kidnap this boy and then rape him. Absolutely terrible. But vigilantism is a bigger problem. The idea that there are situations which we say, okay, it's okay for me to take the law in my own hands. It's okay for me to administer the death penalty when the government won't do it. Although this guy was going to be going to Louisiana, so he probably would not have gotten the death penalty.
No.
Kidnapping. So it's an interesting question because I know that there's a lot of time, and I sort of thought about it in manner of speaking. Are there moments in time at which I would go vigilante, take the law into my own hands? And I think there's two different things about it. But when somebody is in custody, if you take that decision away from the courts, you're disrespecting the justice system overall. And even though you might say, this guy deserved it, he had it coming. A lot of the comments where, and I had this thread was, so what? Bullets are cheap. Pedophiles, one less pedophile. It's okay. And none of that's hyperbolic, right? This guy is a terrible person.
Well, here's the rub, though. What if he wasn't the person?
What if he wasn't what?
What if he wasn't the right? I'm like,
Yeah,
we're fairly certain that this guy was the guy who did it. Like, I
right,
don't doubt that this was he had
right.
whether
But
you think it's right or wrong. He had justice administered to him as the eventual, at least the guilty
right,
part. But
think-
what if the wrong person's identified? We've
yeah.
got
Or look at Trayvon Martin, right?
yeah,
Right. I mean, that there's a vigilante who killed Trayvon Martin because I can't even remember that guy's name now.
George Zimmerman.
George Zimmerman, thank you. Um, who because he was a quote unquote security guard and he needed to detain that guy, and so he killed him. Or those three guys who killed that man who was jogging in their neighborhood.
Yeah,
That
Ahmaud
sort of
Arbery.
shit happens all the time. It's vigilantism, and it's as tempting as it may be. And listen, I know that there are a lot of miscarriages of justice, and sadly, 9 times out of 10, it's the wrong way where they convict somebody who's innocent.
Yeah.
But sometimes there are people who are guilty and don't get the sentence that they should. Police officers. Um, but that's. I wish I'm going to come back with that point of sometime and say. So let me ask you this: if I think a police officer committed a crime, am I entitled to be a vigilante? We are going to get
I'm
banned
actually
from YouTube for
well,
me having said that.
yeah, I'm surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised that hasn't happened. That there hasn't been some kind of vigilante justice against some of these
I
more
mean,
egregious police officers who've really gotten away with murder.
it's certainly rumored that there's some of that happening now. Ambushes of police officers, that big shooting in Dallas.
But
I do not
that
have
was just
full notes on
random
it. I don't
shooting
know.
of officers, though. That was like
Oh, that's
going
funny.
after the force itself.
What was that? It or it was? Yeah. Okay, maybe so. Right. I don't know anything about specific officers being targeted. I've never heard of anything like that. But there certainly have been violent protests against the police officer,
Oh
including
yeah, yeah, yeah,
attacks on police forces.
yeah,
But anyway, so that's a long way to get there from the TikTok ban.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it talks about some of the the libertarian issues that are going on. And that's the thing about liberty is that if you are a real proponent of it, it touches every single issue, right? I mean, no matter what the things are, there's a liberty component to it.
Sure.
If there's a healthcare issue, there's a liberty component. If there's a economic issue, an immigration issue, all that stuff. Immigration is actually, up in the news again. I can't remember who said it now, but one of the northern cities said, "Oh, we've reached our limit." And there's a lot of coverage of the fact that AOC's district in Brooklyn or Queens, they've been shipping a lot of people there from Texas, and the neighborhood is trashed now. And it there is I will say there's a delicious irony that cities that declare themselves sanctuary cities are actually not willing to take anybody in. It's one thing for northern cities to say, "Oh, we're sanctuary cities. Immigrants are welcome here." But then once they start to get, just a small portion of the flow, and Dave, you're from New Mexico, I'm from Texas. Uh, the borders, there are a lot of people coming over, and so for
Yeah.
the northern towns to imply that they had an idea of what those numbers were, but then when they presented with them, it's crazy. Um,
Honestly, New York City should be more than happy. I think some of these states should be more than happy to accept people and try to integrate them into society because I New York's been hemorrhaging people for a couple decades now.
right,
A lot of northern states have been hemorrhaging people for decades now. This
right.
is how you stem that tide and eventually try and get them
The
into
problem
a
though is that they're
citizenship system.
they're hemorrhaging people because they're hemorrhaging two sorts of people, right? They're hemorrhaging the wealthy who have the ability to flee the higher taxes, and
Yep.
then they're hemorrhaging the poor who can't afford the high cost of living. So you're left with an overburdened middle class that can't fulfill the role of either. So when you
And well, you're also importing and you know
People are going to need
importing
social services.
a cheaper base of workers that could help lower some of the cost of living issues there. So
If you didn't have a minimum wage
$15
that
minimum
was
wage.
exactly,
Yeah.
which
Yeah, no,
again
I get you.
comes back around to a libertarian idea. Listen, you guys, at times we talk about stuff and we sound like, we may sound like we're anti-Trump and anti-Republican, but actually we're just pro-liberty. And a great example of that is that none of us support a minimum wage law. A million different
I
ways
know
to say
Louis
it.
doesn't. He's going wild back there.
I've never seen a dog more angry about the minimum wage law. Um, there's a great Gary Johnson campaign joke where he says, "My two dogs have made more shovel-ready jobs in this campaign, or than this president." Uh, I said it backwards, but than the current president. Anyway, yeah, but if you're a liberty person, you're consistent on all the issues, and so minimum wage, right? No, if you're a liberty person, you don't support a minimum wage because why do you get to tell somebody else how much they should pay for their employees? You can't. It's not fair. Everybody gets to sell their labor at whatever the price is. And one of the fundamental principles of liberty is that two people don't enter into a contract unless they both agree to it. Now, one person may get the bad end of the contract because they're in a space where they have to sell their goods for less than they're worth or something like that. But they're not doing it unwillingly. They're doing it because it's the best option that they have. And two people making a contract, that includes people selling their labor and what they sell it for. And if the minimum
The problem is
wage,
we don't have anywhere near a unregulated market for
right,
it
right,
now. So and I think there are lots of inequities within our labor market, um, the way it's set up right now. That I mean, I don't know what the answer. I don't even know what the libertarian answer would be to. I mean, yes, well, let's remove the laws, but looking at the current makeup of Congress and looking at the current makeup of the system right now is that's not feasible. We're going to have some kind of seismic shift of what's going on in this country for us to get to that point. Um,
yeah, I it's it's a weird question because there are all these things that are going on that could fix things. Like, I mean, I really do believe that a cryptocurrency that was allowed to really work has a huge potential. For one thing, it's because it's not regulated by the government. You don't have to worry about somebody paying you and you having to claim it as taxes or anything like that. There's no financial record of the transaction. But also, there's no fees or minimal fees. You don't have to worry about the inflation, although none of the cryptocurrencies are particularly stable right now, as evidenced by, I think Bitcoin's at $72,000 right
but
now.
then it'll be like 45 in a week. Yeah. I mean, it's a roller coaster. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing that probably keeps a lot of people from Bitcoin is, yeah, the high highs, but
Right. Now, that being said,
the lows are low.
we're just passing really the 20th anniversary of most people hearing a little bit about Bitcoin.
Yep.
Okay. And, at that point in time, well, 2012, 2014, it was about $100 a Bitcoin. Right. I mean, and you can't even say it's like an inconsistent growth.
Oh,
Uh,
no. But
it's
over the
pretty
last few
consistent.
years, it's been because it got to like $72,000, what, 3 or 4 years ago, and then
It got to 61 before. This is
I
the
mean,
new current high.
every half hour I was getting some kind of social media post talking about Bitcoin prices, and I'm like,
Well,
well, I mean that's cool,
right. And
but
then
if you're
crashed
hearing
all the way
about
down
it
to
on
30.
Facebook, it's already too expensive to invest in.
Right. And the part of the problem is that because it's the first currency, people view it more as an investment than they do a currency. But
Yeah.
there are other currencies out there that are doing a better job right now being used as an actual currency. And when you get to that stage, the easier it is for people to make transactions, the stronger your economy is. So hopefully that'll help things out along the way. The
Yeah.
minimum wage issue, there's a fundamental math problem that people don't think about. If I'm a business owner and hiring another person will generate me $10 more in profit per hour, I will never hire somebody at $15. They'll make me lose money.
Sure.
But if
And
I could
that
hire
that
them at $9, I would hire them.
or they're going to choose to end their business because I mean, at some point you get to a point where you have more work than you have available employees,
Right.
and we've seen bosses, and I've worked for bosses who will just squeeze every drop out of an employee. In fact, for some dumb ass reason, they'll pay you like 30 hours of overtime rather than hiring another employee. When you think about the salary of an employee, uh, 30 hours of overtime will pay the cost of a new employee fairly easily. Um, but uh, they'll rather just burn out a good employee than really go and make that extra hire. So um, I don't know. We'll have to do uh, we'll have to do a jobs episode at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see, AJ, what story do you want to talk about this week?
I did not pay attention to the headlines because I was in Colorado.
Yay.
Um, um, about the only headline that I can confirm, um, or deny, I'm not really sure how to put it, is the news was reporting all kinds of like serious disasters and stuff during the snowstorm there. It really wasn't that bad. There was a spot on Interstate 70 that there was a wreck at the very beginning of the snowstorm, and that slowed things down for a little while because they had to deal with that while dealing with the snowstorm. But it was really not that big of a deal. So don't believe media. They had my cousin in New Jersey convinced that I was going to freeze to fucking death. So like that's my headline for this week. Don't believe the
And
media.
and another thing is Colorado's a big state. Just
Yeah.
because something happens in one part of Colorado doesn't mean like it's not like Rhode Island where, if it snows in one part of Rhode Island, everyone else knows about it. But Colorado's a big state. I-70 goes all the way through it. Um, but yeah, I mean, anytime something happens in West Virginia, I get people calling me like, "Hey, what's going on? Are you guys okay?" I'm like, "Well, no, it's in Charleston. I can get to New York City before I can get to Charleston, West Virginia. So it doesn't really affect us too much other than our state legislature." But I did hear that
Well,
one of the state legislators in Tennessee had called for riots in response to the new police bill that the governor signed. And I'm trying to look up.
I don't know. You can let me know. What did Tennessee do this week that should have pissed me off, but I didn't know about it because I was elsewhere?
I don't know.
I'm looking for the headline.
What did Tennessee do?
There's a new police bill, and I think it's probably something along the lines of the.
Oh, I do know exactly what this is actually. The Memphis City Council, they responded to the beating of Tyree Nichols with actual rules against police brutality in their area, right? They actually like gave the police some guidelines and whatnot, and said that we're not going to beat people to death. That's just not what we're doing here, y'all.
Hmm.
And so the Republicans in the House, the Senate, and in the governor's office are going to overrule the city council on this. Sorry.
Yeah. So, Tennessee State Senator Charlene Oliver of Nashville warned state Republicans on Thursday, moments after the Tennessee General Assembly passed a bill prohibiting local governments from inhibiting law enforcement, that her Democratic constituents may respond with riots. Um, Now, this, of course, got blown out to say she's calling for riots. She just saying that, hey, this is bad law, and the response may be riots from my community. Um, in fact, Senator Brent Taylor, despite overwhelming support for my bill that prohibits local governments from banning legal routine traffic stops, leftist opposition has been insane and totally out of touch with reality and our community's demands. And he posted her comments. Um, let's see. Democratic State Senator Lamar from Memphis says that GOP support majority is enslaving her because she is a black woman. This is a form of slavery. I feel like a slave sometimes in this building. Yeah, so your legislature's having fun.
The legislature here in oh, God, if you watch like the daily sessions at all, the racism is just dripping out of the screen. It is absolutely ridiculous. Now, the Britt Taylor, is that the name?
Yeah, Brent Taylor.
Is he the one that brought about the bill?
Yeah,
Because is he also the one that lied to Nichols' parents and said, "I'm not going to bring this back up until we go over this and you'll be
probably.
involved in that process." And he said, "We'll call you when we're going to bring it up again." And then brought it up the very next day when they weren't there. So Justin Pearson stood up and said, "You lied. You lied." And the Democratic Party was all about, "You lied to this family." He was like, "No, I didn't." It was like, "Yeah, you did. You said you weren't going to do this." Um, so if there are riots, I think they might be well deserved. And I know that I'm not supposed to feel that way, but I don't know how else anything's going to happen in Tennessee. I don't know how else they're
I mean,
going
there's nothing
to
wrong
get
with
back
protesting.
their.
People are entitled to petition their
I
government for a redress of grievances.
They're trying really hard to make it illegal in Tennessee. They're
Yeah,
trying really, really hard. And with the state troopers being used for that special session, that's just going to cost us our tax-free weekend, um, I'm there's not going to be there's not going to be peaceful protests. There's going to be people protesting, and there's going to be attacks. That's one of the reasons that I'm determined to be gone out of the state before the election, because it is something like this every damn week.
yeah,
And it is blatant. And I can't believe that this is the same place that I grew up. And it makes no sense to me.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
it was bad then, I thought. And I thought in the 90s we were kind of headed in the right direction. And then it was like we took a U turn and was like, no, 1950, where are you at? And that's been Tennessee, at least for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
You know,
All right,
oh
Dan.
gosh.
What's your
Yes.
news story for the
Change
week?
subject.
Well, I got two.
All right.
The first one, of course, is about this just crazy election that's going on.
Mm,
By crazy, I mean Vladimir Putin reelected to.
Only 87% of the vote. I feel sorry for that 13%. Going to get
We know
liquidated.
we know who you are. Uh,
My friend Travis Rednick, who's been on the show when we did our Ukraine episode, sent me a video. There's like a video of someone showing a soldier walking into polling booths in Russia, like checking on the people voting. Like, oh, that's not good.
yeah, there is a really interesting protest that Alexei Navalny, who most people believe that Putin had killed in prison, he was the leader of the opposition, but he had encouraged everybody to, as a protest that they couldn't get punished for, to vote slowly on Sunday. And so today, there were these huge lines at all the polling places, especially in the cities. And so it was.
I wonder if that's what the Russian soldier was telling him to hurry up or something like that.
Oh yeah, there probably was. That's sort of what happens. Everybody got in line that day, knowing that it's only the only way they can actually protest. But it's a crazy thing because it's clear that this guy is a dictator, right? He almost got overthrown by not his military, by a mercenary force. The guy who tried to do that was then killed. Uh, Leaders of the opposition always get killed, and yet somehow he gets elected with
Russian
eighty
oligarchs get
percent
killed.
of the vote.
Yeah.
So, just as a message to America, we don't want to let it get that bad. Okay.
Yeah.
Because this ties into my second thing. Trump's statement over the weekend of there will be a bloodbath if I'm not elected. Okay. And some people are trying to spin it that, well, he was talking about cars. He's saying there was going to be a bloodbath in car sales. You know, this is gaslighting 101. And the problem is that a lot of men don't recognize it because they are subconscious gaslighters themselves. People haven't been trying to gaslight them as much. But you can ask any woman, that's the gaslight right there, right? When somebody says, oh, I said bloodbath, I didn't mean bloodbath. So
I said a nice bubble bath.
Exactly. So that's the other thing about it. And you see some people coming out and saying things. So, for example, Mike Pence said that he would not endorse Donald Trump.
Yep.
Dick Cheney, who, you know, Dick Cheney is the emperor from Star Wars. They originally had used him as the model, and then they're like, no, he can't be that evil. But Dick Cheney came out and said that Donald Trump is the greatest personal threat to the United States in the history of our country. I mean, he's including.
I mean, there's some bad blood between the Cheneys and Trump. I mean, we'll
sure,
but I don't disagree with his assessment either.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about old school conservatism here.
Yeah,
it is absolutely true, and so I've been talking about it too. You know, I don't like the government to be functional. But the problem is that the government isn't dysfunctional when Trump's in. It's not increasing spending in the way that it normally does, but it's still doing a lot of dangerous shit. And so
we watched in February, you have Tucker Carlson going to Russia to interview Vladimir Putin.
Right. Exactly.
And really kind of this glowing interview. Now, I will say, if you get a chance, watch Tucker Carlson's interview with Chris Cuomo. Very fascinating conversation. But Tucker Carlson going to Russia to interview Vladimir Putin, and there's this famous thing that's been mocked where he goes to a Russian grocery store and buys groceries and talks about how fantastic it is, not understanding that what he bought was like 2 weeks of salary for the average Russian, thinking that it was so cheap. Towards an American, yes, it is cheap. It was $400, but that's like two weeks salary for the average Russian.
Right.
My point is, you know, you've got Trump welcoming Viktor Orban to the United States and being buddy with him. We knew he's buddy with Putin. You know, he's played footsie with Kim Jong Un. This guy, I think he realizes that on January 6th he missed his opportunity to really place his stamp on the United States.
Yeah.
Like if he had succeeded on January 6th, I hesitate to think where we would be at this point, but he wants a second crack at it. And I think as soon as he gets in the door, we're never going to see Trump leave unless he's got a toe tag on, because he'll be the imperial president. For me, what we're seeing with Tucker Carlson showing, and the Russian propaganda that's coming over talking about how great Putin is and how well run Russia is and how well they're doing despite all the sanctions that have happened and all that stuff, is that we're being groomed to accept authoritarianism as good. Like the old Mussolini trope of we'll make the trains run on time if we just give Trump the power. Yeah,
Yeah.
let him do all the things, and he'll make America great again if we just give him the power and stand back and let him go.
Yep.
We're being groomed
Scary
for it.
shit coming down the road.
It's scary. Uh, One thing we didn't talk about last week that I did want to get to is uh, April 24th. Well, actually, it's going to debut at South by Southwest. I think this week is the new movie from. I think the studio is called A24. It's called Civil War, and it is set in a not too distant future. A president is elected to a third term, has authoritarian powers, and several states break off. There's talk about it not making sense because, like, one of the alliances is Texas and California. Like, as far as political bedfellows, I don't see them getting into a alliance to to secede from the union. But there are four different major factions that are competing uh, in this civil war. The president is Nick Offerman. Those who are familiar with the show Parks and Rec, the libertarian Ron Swanson. I made the joke that you elect a libertarian and things go to shit. So civil
Right.
war immediately happens.
We'll also point out his outstanding episode 3 in The Last of Us.
Mm.
Yes. I love Nick Offerman. Yeah, I know he's not a libertarian in real life. He's said some rather disparaging things about libertarianism, but
I mean,
Ron
to be
Swanson
fair,
is
so have the three of us.
absolutely so. But yeah, I think that this is going to be a very fascinating movie. Now, I just went to my first movie in the since the pandemic ended. Um, uh, Dune 2. Saw the first one on TV and then watched it in the theater. Um, Probably not going to do too many movie theater movies. It wasn't. I mean, it was a cool experience. Like, it was great theater. It's $20 for a ticket now.
Right.
Medium popcorn and a large drink was another $20.
And
Um,
then there's always somebody motherfucking talking.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you really can't control the environment. Now, I will say, it was Friday night, Hagerstown, Maryland. Friday night, 9:20 showing, and there were 10 people in the theater.
Yeah.
I mean, never seen a theater. Even doing matinee shows, I've never seen a theater that empty. Um, Except for I saw that Michael Keaton movie where he was running a newspaper. I think it was called The Paper, but it was a very adult oriented movie, and I was the only person in there. But that, you know,
Yep.
but yeah, I just think that the era of movie theaters are probably going to end at some point soon. They're gonna end up being like drive-in movie theaters. Like, you're gonna see few and far between, and it'll
I,
be kind of like an ancient novelty to
yeah,
do it.
I think I have a friend who runs a small theater in Gloucester, Massachusetts.
Mhm.
Shout out to the Gloucester Community Cinema. And they have a digital projector. They don't show first run shows often. Usually show DVDs, something like that, or streaming things. And he's completely legitimate with intellectual property and streaming rights and all those other things. Um, but the theater is a bunch of couches. It's like a big open office space. So it's
Oh,
very
that's cool.
comfortable. It's a pizzeria downstairs. They encourage you to order a pizza beforehand, bring it up, and eat it while you're
There we go.
watching the movie. And so it's much more of a community experience. And it's interesting. I was talking the other day. I've mentioned before that I like to watch a lot of movie reactions on YouTube. And the thing about it is, there is something about that communal experience of
Mhm.
watching a movie or something else. Uh, because sometimes, like community cinema, they showed the Oscars recently, so everybody wanted to go to a big Oscar party, could go there, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think community theater will be fine.
Right. I
I
think
I think
those
it's the
small.
big, like Regal Cinemas and Cinemark and those other massive
Yeah.
movie companies. Those are the ones that are going to suffer because again, niche marketing to certain movies, I think will be fun. You might find like some of the bigger cities having like one or two like the IMAX cinemas, but other than that, I think a lot of it's just going to be kind of that. Oh, remember when we used to go to the movies and you might
Yeah.
have like a movie marathon or something along those lines, or they'll show like the greatest movies of all time that you'll go and check that out. But yeah, um, but yeah, I'm definitely going to go see Civil War in the theaters. I think that's going to be a pretty cool movie to watch. Um,
When does it come out again?
it's going to be I think April 24th is the date it's coming out. Kirsten
Mm,
Dunst is, believe the lead actress in the movie. Um, and yeah,
um,
it's going to be a really good movie. So um, looking forward to it. All right, y'all ready for the quiz?
I'm ready.
Let's quiz it up. All right, 10 questions, 5 things news quiz. Remember, everything is from Thursday and before, so anything that's happened Friday, Saturday, or Sunday will not appear on this quiz. So, context clues: we got a cup of coffee, we got a Trader Joe's, and we got a computer, laptop. All right. Question number 1: which public figure is facing mounting speculation about her health and whereabouts? Kamala Harris, Oprah Winfrey, Kate Middleton, or Taylor Swift?
I know
Oh,
Let's go, AJ.
it's Kate Middleton.
Why
it,
are they? Why is she facing that speculation?
She had some kind of abdominal surgery right around the same time that Charles was diagnosed with cancer.
mhm.
And then there was a really terrible picture, like photoshopped the shit out of picture, released for Mother's Day in England. And I mean, it was just obviously photoshopped.
It
So
was,
that has
I
people
mean, I
thinking
don't
about,
know.
something's wrong.
Obviously, like I looked at it, I would have never. I mean, I would never dug in that deep to see that it was photoshopped. I mean, like
Yeah.
I just don't care enough about the royal family
Once
to.
they pointed out things, I was like, well, shit, now I can't not see it, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's like AI photos. You look at it. If you
mhm.
just at an AI photo, you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then all of a sudden you see like somebody's hand has like 8 fingers or something on it. Like they never get the fingers right on an AI photo for some
Angle
reason. I don't know why.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so it is Kate Middleton. Janice got it right.
Yes.
Way to go, Janice. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people who have uh, TikTok filters and picture filters on their profile pictures were making a lot of hay of this, and I'm like, well,
Uh-huh.
Right. I mean, it's certainly a Streisand effect type of thing. That
yeah,
by releasing a fake photo, it got a lot bigger. But you know, there's also it's a crazy lifestyle. The family's had so many crazy things that you think they would have by now just learned to be open and honest about everything.
yeah. I mean, I don't blame. I mean, I don't blame her for photoshopping. Like, yeah, it's a common thing now. But uh,
Well,
I would
okay, let's get
assume that
real.
she has.
It wasn't Kate that did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
royal family doesn't do any of their own shit. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
yeah. So even the statement that she released was like, well, like anybody, I dabble. No, you don't, girl. No, you don't.
Yeah.
This was official
right.
royal photo. No, you didn't.
Yeah. So
So it was
uh,
just weird. I mean,
here
they've always been fucking weird.
I already got an answer on our second question. So, which movie swept several major awards at the Oscars, including wins for Best Picture and Best Director? Barbie, Maestro,
Please, let's
Oppenheimer,
see.
or Anatomy of a Fall? Janice says Oppenheimer.
And she's correct.
She is
I didn't
correct. Way to
watch,
go,
but
Robert
I've
Downey
seen
Janice.
enough
Jr.,
headlines.
the surprise winner for Best Supporting Actor,
Yeah.
and probably my two favorite moments of the Oscars, and I didn't watch any of them.
I,
Uh,
well, we were doing the
are
show.
the one where when Jimmy Kimmel says to Robert Downey Jr., he's like, "So Robert Downey Jr. here, him winning the Oscar, that has got to be the highest point in his career." And then the audience sort of snickers because for those people who don't know, Robert Downey Jr. had a terrible drug problem for
Yeah.
many years. And then the other one was, if you haven't seen the clip of Ryan Gosling singing "I'm Just Ken," that's really fantastic. And the lyrics in that song are really good.
Yep.
Anywhere else I'd be a 10, but I'm here, I'm just Ken. And then there's another one about, where I see love, she sees a friend, I'm just Ken. A lot of really good, poignant stuff in there. So thought Ryan Gosling knocked that out of the park.
Yep. All right. Question number 3. Which city is trying to manage a measles outbreak linked to a migrant shelter?
Well, what's crazy about it is it's Denver, and it was caused by AJ going there.
Yeah.
No,
AJ.
snowstorm was my fault.
I have
Snowstorm.
no idea, but it doesn't look like San Diego
No, it doesn't look like San
or
Diego.
Denver. My guess is Chicago, but I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, we'll put this out because I haven't heard this story. I've heard that there's a measles outbreak. But this just feeds into the narrative of the migrants are bringing us bad things. Well,
Oh, it's
you
anti-vaxxers.
put a bunch of people together, and a bunch of people who haven't had access to vaccines like that.
Yeah,
Things happen.
yeah.
Oh, Janice, you don't know either. All right, well,
So
I'm gonna go with Chicago as well.
yeah,
Yes, CDC team arrived in Chicago this week to help officials respond to a measles outbreak linked to a migrant shelter. Local officials said the new measles cases are the first in the city since 2019.
impressive.
Which,
Measles is very
if you're
infectious.
well, here's another thing. I mean, if you're backing somebody like Robert Kennedy, it's kind of proof that vaccines work. You had eradicated measles from an entire city the size of Chicago for what, 5 years?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. All right. Which Caribbean nation's prime minister resigned this week as gangs run rampant through the country? I know this one.
I know this one too. AJ.
AJ, do you know this one?
I would guess Haiti, but I don't know.
That is a good guess. It
That's
is
an
Haiti.
extremely good guess.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
I basically, if you're talking about a unstable government in the Caribbean, it's going to be Haiti, like
I
95%.
was pretty sure.
Yeah, it's
Um,
a Haiti is just, I don't know how you solve it.
I don't either.
It's been
And
bad for
it
so
appears
long.
that the United States government has no idea now. Like
Yep.
it used to be, like things happen in Haiti, we'd send the Marines and things would calm down until we pulled the Marines out, and then things would just go back to where it was.
Yeah.
Um, at this point, I don't think there's any appetite to send the Marines in
To fight the gangs.
to fight the gangs. I don't think that there's any appetite. I don't think Biden wants to um, have a street fighting on the streets of Port-au-Prince
Right.
as he's running for re-election, because it's not going to be a good look.
Right. Right. It's hard to imagine how it could get worse, but I know that if the Americans intervene, it'll get worse.
There,
So
there, there is no, yeah,
Absolutely.
this is a lose-lose situation for the United
yeah.
States if we try to intervene. All right, question number 5: Which state's government scrambled to defend computer systems this week following a pair of cyber attacks? Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, or Arizona?
I
Oh,
have no idea.
she
I don't
even
know.
names Ariel Henry. I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't think the computer helps us figure out which state it is. The picture helps us figure out which state
No,
it is.
there is no context clue. I don't think the picture shows any state.
If I had to guess, I would guess if it was Alaska, it wouldn't be news. Alabama, they don't have computers. Uh, so
piss
between
everyone off.
Arizona and Arkansas, I'm going to guess Arkansas. Boy,
Uh,
I got to tell you this off the air. I know the most obscene joke, and it's about Arkansas. It's so obscene that I will not tell it on the air,
all right.
but I'll
Well,
tell you guys afterwards.
just hang up, or hang on after the show here.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe I'll type it in the private chat. Make you guys crack up while I'm here.
Oh, it's Alabama Stan.
Wow.
Which one is this
And
one?
look at that. From
Excuse me
hackers
just a
half the
second.
world
I've got to
You know
go
what?
pee and then throw up. And because the information is not pleasing. This
Everybody thought it was Arkansas, but it was Alabama Stan.
I mean, we're right to guess on a stupid state, but I guess if you're picking stupid, Alabama wins.
I guess. Wow. All right. Question number 6. Which social media platform is one step closer to being banned in the United States after the United States House passed a controversial bill this week?
We
Facebook,
talked about it. We
TikTok,
don't even have to wait.
Snapchat.
No.
But what is this picture?
It is TikTok. It's TikTok on the app on the phone.
Yeah. Oh, it's weird. It looked like a nose and some eyes to me.
Oh,
Dude, Heartland
Question number
Newsfeed. Is that Joe?
who clinched the Republican nomination on Tuesday? I wish anyone except for the I don't know about Robert.
Maybe.
Well,
DJ.
I think I'd rather have Robert Kennedy as the Republican.
Absolutely. I'd rather have Kennedy than Trump. Kennedy
but
doesn't have that cult of personality. I mean, that's the problem
I
with
think-
Trump isn't
Well,
his ideas. There actually have been people who've had worse ideas who have run for president. Lyndon LaRouche is worse than Donald Trump. The difference is that Trump is enormously popular,
Yeah.
so he gets to implement all that crazy shit.
Well, I think the benefit of Trump's first 4 years is that he was not a very tactically gifted person, but the lessons he's learned,
Yeah, that's the problem. He's going to come back.
he
knows
comes
now.
back. He doesn't want to tactically fight with the U.S. House and Senate. He wants to undermine the U.S. House and Senate and just rule by fiat. And
Yep.
yeah,
I think he will. I think he'll just run executive orders through.
yeah,
All that
and
stuff.
just ignore the U.S. Congress, ignore the U.S. Supreme Court, especially if he gets a favorable ruling from the United States Supreme Court says that presidents are immune from prosecution, because then there's no recourse. Even they say that for him to face any recourse, he'd have to be impeached. He's not going to even pay attention to the United States House or Senate.
Right.
So, and it's going to be divided. It's like, even if if the Democrats retain control of the Senate retain control of the Senate and pick up the House, he's just going to ignore them because there's no way they're going to impeach him out of that. He's got enough Republican support to prevent any kind of conviction. So, that way, I mean, I joke about it, but if I'm Joe Biden, if that ruling comes down before the election, I'm canceling the election.
Yeah,
because the Republicans aren't going to be able to stop him and impeach him. They're just like, I'm canceling the election. I'm president for life.
That is the other crazy shit, is that they'll try January 6th again. Maybe not with people, but this time instead with the states saying, "Oh no, those are not our electors."
Yep.
It's going to be terrible. The thing is, like, I can remember John McCain, Al Gore, I think some specific losers, and by losers I mean both losers and people who lost elections. But they stood up at the end and they said, "I lost," and the country needs that.
Yeah. I mean, even Hillary Clinton in 2016, where she took a day before she came out and conceded.
Yep.
She still did.
Yep.
Eventually, you got to own up to it. He
And
still hasn't owned up to 2020.
I always remember Obama's speech when at the Trump inauguration, where he said, Michelle and I will be praying for your success because your success is the success of the United States.
Yep.
And that's what we want. And I thought, it's such a gracious thing. Maybe Trump will take a little cue from. No. He didn't get it. And that's
well, at this point, I don't know, like you said, cult of personality. I don't know that I think we've gone past the point of no return when it comes to there. We're always going to have a cult-like presidential figure running for president. I think it's going to be kind of down the line of the Trump succession. We're going to have kind of an imperial. It's going to go from Trump to Eric or Don Jr., and then it's going to go to daughter or maybe Jared Kushner.
Well, so I mean, that's a crazy thing because a lot of people say, "Oh, if you believe that Joe Biden's not going to run, they're going to replace him at the convention." A lot of people are like, "Oh, it's going to be Michelle Obama. That's who they're going to replace Joe Biden with."
That does nothing for me.
Well, it doesn't do anything for you, but you're not in the cult of Democratic personality.
Yeah, no, I have firmly stated that with the way that this election is shaping up, I will be skipping the presidential ballot line. There's for me, no point to voting in West Virginia anyway, as far as the president goes. Now, I'm going to vote down ballot, but I'm just going to blank.
I'm definitely going to vote. I mean, if I have to, if I don't have a good libertarian to vote for, I would. It doesn't matter in Maryland. Maryland's going to go for Biden.
Yeah,
I'd probably vote Kennedy, even though I don't really like him, just to indicate that I'm not happy with.
Yeah.
The other thing is. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree, Janice. All right, question number 8. Which city recently unveiled new measures to crack down on raucous spring breakers? Las Vegas, Nashville, Miami, or New Orleans?
Again, this is all AJ's doing.
What'd you do?
I think it's Nashville.
No.
No?
I think it's Miami.
It is Miami. Fort Lauderdale, specifically.
We're not a big
Bienvenido a Miami. Rocking all night till the beat of dawn.
Yep.
Sorry.
Hefty fines, curfews, bag checks, restricted beach access, and DUI checkpoints in response to disturbances of crimes tied to spring breakers. Yeah, if you've ever been near a beach town during spring break, it's debauchery. Now, if you're one of the spring breakers, it's the time of your life. But if you're a resident of the area, it's not so much fun.
Right. Although it's interesting that, in many ways, Airbnb has sort of made it more of a gold mine for people now, too.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how psyched you'd be about renting out your nice house as an Airbnb.
Oh, not to a bunch of college freshmen. Like that would, that's just asking to have your place torn up. California Chairman Malagon. Yes. I did notice that Mr. Malagon was not included in the recent Mises endorsement list.
I don't know what's up with that.
He is Malagon. Let's see. Number 9. Which new product at Trader Joe's sparked a frenzy after going viral on social media? Water bottle, tote bag, candle, or shampoo? Janice has it. I saw this story earlier today because they just announced they're restocking them. But their canvas tote bags just went nuts. Like they sold out of them in like.
Are they nice or?
No, they're the standard Trader Joe's tote bag.
Interesting.
Greg got it as well. Way to go, Greg. Yeah, they're $3 tote bags. They're going online for like hundreds of dollars for just some stupid reason. Like, wait till they restock. Wait a week.
Yep. That's it's crazy.
Ooh, I'm gonna need help because I don't drink coffee. But how many cups of coffee does the average adult drink daily? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
because it's average, I'm going to say take the lowest number, which is 1. Because there are plenty of people like you that drink 0.
It's true.
Heartland Nose Feed, is that Joe Bast?
No, that is
Oh, okay.
no. I can see him. My mind is blanking right now. Sorry, I've been up since like 6 this morning, so
All right.
my
So I think it's
my
1
brain is
because of the
fried.
way averages work out.
Jake Leonard.
Jake Leonard from Iowa. Gotcha. There's a
Okay.
libertarian think tank called the Heartland Institute, and
Oh yeah, that's
based out of
where.
Illinois. And Joe Bast was the guy there.
Okay.
Um,
Any guesses from the folks? Janice
I
says
would say
2.
4 just
and it says
because
2.
coffee drinkers are serious.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a 2 cup as well person, but
But yeah, if you're talking about all adults,
exactly.
Hmm.
I mean, I bet you there's a lot of countries where they don't even have coffee, right?
uh,
I mean, the standard of living, etc., doesn't.
all right, we'll do 1. Oh, 3.
3.
Mm.
We would have gotten it
Oh
wrong
wait,
anyway.
motherfucker! Look at that. They changed the statistics on us. Right, the question at top. Go scroll up, please.
How many cups of coffee does the average adult drink daily?
Adult, and then it says average American adult. Those are 2 different things.
That's true.
Because y'all straight up did bring up that some countries don't even have coffee.
Exactly. Coffee's not a big deal
Yeah.
in China, nowhere near as big as it is in the United States. And
Hmm.
my mom says there's a lot of people in China.
Can follow the guidelines.
All right. Well, it's going to be
8
an
out of
exciting,
10.
yeah, it's going to be an
Gotta be.
exciting week.
It is.
There's the Supreme Court is in session, right? And they've got
Are they doing the immunity case this session?
I'm not sure they're doing it this session. I'm not sure if it's this week. They just returned the social media one. Whether or not elected officials had to keep their social media open.
Oh, do they?
They do not. The court ruled that, in fact, the court declined to make a ruling. What they did is they sent it back down to the lower court with a guidance that if a government official's Facebook page only lists things that are like common knowledge and stuff like that, then absolutely it's considered private enough that they can ban somebody from it. This lawsuit resulted in, some troll was going nuts on a congressman's Facebook page, and congressman banned him. And then the person sued and said, "Oh, you can't ban me from the public forum that is your Facebook page." So it was an interesting question. But
Yeah.
the court said that, unless he was using it as specifically, this is my tool on how I communicate with people, et cetera, it's not a public forum. So people need to evaluate in that level.
To answer Janice's question, we have picked a country, just have not had the chance to really sit down and make a video for it, but we will be talking our next Free for All Sunday about the country of Tuvalu in the South Pacific. It
Funny,
is.
I was hoping it was Tonga. I just watched footage of that.
We should also talk about Kiribati at some point. That is my favorite flag in the world is Kiribati. It's a beautiful flag. Go check it out. And it's spelled Kiribati, but it's pronounced Kiribati.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I wonder if I've been there.
You've been there.
Yep.
Nice.
On our honeymoon, we did a 10-day cruise out of Hawaii.
Oh, nice.
And because of the Jones Act, cruise ships prefer to go to a foreign port of call at one point on their destination.
Yeah.
So the nearest foreign port to Hawaii, to Honolulu, where we left from, is Kiribati. And in fact, Norwegian Cruise Lines, that was the cruise that we were on, sponsors an island on Kiribati. Essentially, they built a dock there. They bring in supplies when they come, return for which that when the ship gets there, people get to wander around this island. Whew, I will tell you what, I am not temperamentally suited for paradise because these guys, they lived in paradise. So there's a little atoll, and when the tide comes in, it fills up, and when it goes out, it's filled with fish. So they don't have to do anything to catch the fish, and then it's a tropical island, so fruits and vegetables just growing all over the place. But I
but
looked
it's
at
going to
what
disappear.
well, it hasn't yet, but yes, when the glaciers melt.
Yeah.
But the the island, when the people who lived on the island, and they talked about their history. Now they've been there for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
I looked at it. I'm like, 1,000 years, and this is how far you guys got. You're still in these ridiculous huts, and it's because life was just too easy for them.
Yeah.
No need to do anything else.
Yeah,
But
I would rather live in a hut on Kiribati than any kind of McMansion in Shreveport, Louisiana, or something like that. Like that.
I wouldn't mind taking vacations there, but boy, after a month, I'd be like, I need to do some shit.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is the show for this evening. Anybody have anything else they want to say? Oh, give to AJ's GoFundMe. Right here, right here. You use your phone, click the picture, or use your camera function. It'll take you to AJ's GoFundMe to help get AJ the hell out of Tennessee into safer places called Denver, Colorado.
Yeah.
Safe for her family. It's a good cause. It's the right thing to do and the tasty way to do it, as Wilford Brimley would say. So, but yeah, definitely go check that out. In fact, let me do I have yes, I do have Facebook open.
Yeah, throw it in the chat. I want to just give a shout out to my friend Easy, who was a bandmate and a good friend in Austin way back in the day. And he has played his last gig, unfortunately. Easy was a firefighter as well. His real name wasn't Easy. His real name was Jeremy. And was always a musician. And at one point, he was invited to be in a Christian rock band, and they wanted him to take the stage name of Ezekiel. He's like, I'm not going to be Ezekiel, but you can call me Easy. And didn't last long in that band. Eventually came to Austin. We got to meet and became really good friends, stayed in touch a long time. He visited me up here in Maryland and introduced me to his son with the idea that he wanted us to form a relationship and talk and stuff like that. And so I'm glad to now have that connection to my friend who's passed. And the one thing I'll say about it is, if he'd been a little better about saying that doesn't feel right, he might have had a different outcome. So all our listeners out there, if you think something doesn't feel right, go ask your doctor. Telemedicine's so easy nowadays. That's it. That's all I got.
And yeah, get your checkups, get all that good stuff. We're all dealing with stuff, and the earlier you catch stuff. In fact, I just found out a friend has breast cancer. She caught it very early, so fantastic news on that. And the sucks that she has breast cancer, but
nice that it's stage 1.
Yeah, nice that it's early and that it's treatable. So catch it early, get it treated, and live a happy, healthy, and full life. So
fulfill your
anyway,
responsibilities to all the people you promised stuff to.
Yep,
by staying alive. Good
All
night,
right,
everybody.
thanks, everybody. Good night, Gracie. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you all next week on the Political
Good
Deep
night, Gracie.
Dive.